Today we're going to add the grid onto your drawing paper so that we can have the same exact grid on both the drawing paper and our photograph, which is going to help us to improve our accuracy as we're drawing. So you're going to need a ruler, you're going to need a pencil, you're going to need your paper, and you might possibly also need an eraser. I'm going to start at the very bottom of my page, and I'm going to line up the end of my ruler with the edge of my paper. So notice I have my paper above the ruler. We're going to be marking in 1.5 inch increments, all right? So today, as you take a look, you're looking for 1.5. So 1.5 is going to be between 1 and 2, and it is halfway in between those two lines. It is also the longest line on the ruler between those two spots. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark at 1.5. Notice, make sure the end of your ruler where 0 is also the edge of your paper. Next, I'm going to add 1.5 plus 1.5, which if you add 1.5 and 1.5 together, you get 3. Hopefully you figured that out as I'm talking you through this. Then 3 plus 1.5, so 3 plus 1 is 4, plus another half is 4.5. So 4.5 is your next mark. Then 6, then 7.5. And as you can see, as I get towards the edge of this paper, 9 should be very close to the edge of the paper overall. So again, I'm marking every 1.5 inches. 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9 should be right at the edge of the paper. Then I'm going to slide my ruler up to the top of the paper. Make sure that you do not turn the paper around because then 0 is at a different starting point. Again, I'm making sure the edge of my paper is lined up with the edge of the ruler, or 0 if it's not right at the edge of your ruler. Then I'm marking 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, and 9 again should be near the edge of the paper. Once I have finished marking the bottom and the top, now I'm going to turn my paper so that my paper is vertical, sitting in front of me, and again I'm going to line up my ruler at the very bottom of the page. I'm going to be making squares for my grid, so since we measured 1.5 inches for each distance on the other side, we're going to do the same thing here so we end up with a square. So I'm going to start 1.5, again making sure 0 is at the edge of my paper, marking at 3, 4.5, 6, and this time you'll notice 7.5 is very near to the edge of our paper. So I'm actually going to mark 6 as my last spot because the edge of the paper is going to be the edge of one of the boxes. Next, again, I'm not turning the paper. I'm just sliding that ruler up to the top of the page. I'm going to mark again 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5 should be near the edge of the paper.